Okay, so on to day 5 of 5 of the SMC difficult but not the most difficult questions. And this is a good one. And as I said in yesterday's video, often use this as a way of interviewing candidates when we do practice interviews, because it's one of those you can discuss back and forth and get the answer out and sort of really check their understanding as to how these things work. So, like I always say, lots of ways of doing this. Give it a go, see what chance you come up with, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so how do we do? So for me, we just build this up from the basics. So I'm going to start with a graph of sin x. So hopefully sin x is straight for all, and I'm not going to explain where that comes from. Otherwise this question itself is going to be very difficult. So standard graph of sin x. And then let's think about sin x squared. Now actually there's a couple of things going on here, one of which I'm going to largely ignore, but I'm going to sort of try and demonstrate it anyway. So sin x squared means that I'm squaring the value before I put into the sine function. So in other words, more quickly I'm going to get through each period or each rotation of the sine curve. So therefore my sine curve is going to compress closer and closer. The other thing that's going to happen is actually it's going to turn from being an odd function to being an even function, because any x values are now squared, which means therefore that a negative x value is the same output as a positive, the same positive x value. Okay, so far. Then there's a clever bit. So I want to work out y squared equals sin x squared. So in other words, I need to work out values that I can have which are squared, in other words, which are positive. So I don't have, or I can't use, or I need to ignore the negative values. So if I look at what I've got drawn down here, these negative values will not give me a solution because there are no negative values I can square root, which will give me a value of y. And again, pause that for a second, make sure you've got that idea because it's pretty common in these sorts of questions. So therefore the graph of the square root of sin x squared must ignore all the negatives. So I'm going to take the thing I've just done and I'm going to ignore anything that's negative. And then also I'm going to remember that it's not just positive values, but when I take the square root, the solutions are also the negative values as well. So in red, you can see what I've hopefully tried to do here, which is I've just got missing bits to my graph, but I've also got the reflection in the x-axis as well. So there's another effect going on here as well, which I've kind of jumped over, but it's just this idea of squaring a number. So you're going to get this, if I look at the answer, it's slightly easier to explain. So the answer is A here, and of course what's going on with this bit here is I am actually getting, I build up more slowly and then accelerate up, which is why you get this weird loop here, which then starts to compress a bit as we look further on. C isn't the answer because, as I said, I have to miss these bits out, so I can't get negatives, and we've kind of excluded B and E. D looks like it could be the right answer, but it's not right. One of the other ways of graphing, which I didn't do here because it sort of came out quite nicely, is put the value 0 in, see what happens with the value 0. In this case, the value 0, 0 is not shown as a solution, but is clearly a solution to the equation that I've got above. So nice question. And again, just for absolute clarity, I end with the letter A, so the solution today is A. Next week, we're going to do some slightly tougher SMC questions. So we're going to have another round of these questions coming as we build up to the final exam. As I said at the outset, I've said it all week, these are some great questions. Get you thinking and make sure you understand exactly what's going on. As ever, do like and subscribe. Come back for the next set of questions. I'm going to start posting some questions daily because I quite like these short, snappy questions, I think. That's it from me today. Thanks all. Bye.